Statesville.
Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm.
If you don't know our host, David Hamm, he's a 25-year NASCAR veteran, engine builder, and jackman.
Live every Monday evening, we have a new guest
From the racing world with their stories, their paths,
Their racing
roots. Now here's our host, David Hamm.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm. And it's a beautiful day outside, 70 degrees. No, I'm just kidding. It's probably about 60 degrees, but anyway.
It's a stretch for 60. It's cold out there.
You got your little thermostat in front of you.
Oh, that's true. You're
Looks
right.
like it says 48.
We do. We have the Clean Tech Weather Center high above the Clock Tower building here in Statesville. It says 76. Oh, indoors.
Oh my, he needs
48 degrees outside, but
He needs help.
yeah. Hey, but we do have some sunshine coming in here.
Oh yeah, right in my eyeballs.
With the daylight savings and all change, you know.
See,
It's
look,
a good
right
thing.
in my
Right in
eyes.
your eyes. They're
Yep.
reflecting on me. So if you don't recognize that voice, that is my lovely wife, Traci.
That's right. Get it straight.
Yeah. I usually
Wow,
introduce
it's a
her
rough crowd,
last.
man. I'm telling you.
I usually introduce her last, so that's where always my mistake.
Ladies first.
Then we got the young Bryson here.
Good to
of
be
course.
here. Yeah.
And then we got just Bill Hamby.
Yes, sir. Good
I
evening.
still always want to say Captain Hamby, and then I want to say Major Hamby, but
Hey,
you just
man.
got a promotion.
I go by whatever you call me.
Yeah.
I sure did, yep.
I know you always said it's just Bill.
Just Bill.
Yeah. But
Yes,
you were
sir.
the chief deputy, Bill Hamby.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Yep. I was tickled to death. Sheriff Campbell saw it fit to promote me and promoted me to chief deputy of the sheriff's office on the enforcement side. There's two chief deputies. Chief Burt Conley is over the detention side and some admin, and I'm chief over enforcement.
All right, very good. Did you get a better parking spot?
Actually, yes, I did. I was pretty happy parking where I was, and the sheriff and the chief they park on, the kind of the back of the building. And one day, sheriff walked in. He goes, "Okay, you're gonna have to park where you're supposed to park."
Oh.
And I said, "What's wrong with out here, boss?" He says, "You're gonna have to park where you're supposed to park." Yes, sir.
Well,
So-
I'm thinking knowing you're probably like, well, I need to get the extra steps in, maybe.
I need some extra steps, that's for sure. Yeah, but nope, sure did. Got the promotion, got the parking spot, and they put me in the corner office.
All right. Is it a bigger office?
It is substantially bigger, and it's one of the brighter, prettier colored offices. Everybody else has like this concrete gray,
Yes.
slate gray, and mine's some kind of off-white. So
All right.
There's a little life.
yeah, well, I was smart. I've learned. I conferred with my wife, and I conferred with the ladies in office. I said, "What do y'all think?" And they went, "We want that one." I said, "Then that's what we'll go with."
Oh, okay, right.
So,
Yes.
so
I guess
I don't get fussed at.
Yeah, you can fit you and Steven in there in the same room.
Yeah, me and Steven and a couple of, like I said, it's one of my bigger offices. Years ago when I worked up at Taylorsville PD, I was literally in a coat closet. So I've gone from the coat closet to now a corner.
Yeah.
corner
Okay.
office.
And I just say that because y'all are big guys.
Oh
I mean,
yeah. No, he's getting bigger every day. He's
Yeah.
I know he's at home listening. So get your homework done, son. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Hey,
But
Steven.
he
Keep
called
that GP
me.
up.
Yeah, he called me today on the way over here, and he's telling me about his workout and about his day. And he said, "Daddy, I'm up to 291 now." I said, "That a boy, son. Keep eating. We got to get you to 300, but
Keep
you're
eating.
doing well, yes, sir."
That's
If I
cool.
could give him some of my weight, I would. I'd give him a few pounds.
Oh, he'd take it.
David
Oh,
could
yeah, me
use some
too.
too.
I tell
Yeah,
you
thanks.
what, he's eating us out of house and home and working over to the gym. Of course, coming right out of football in his wrestling season, you can only weigh up to 285 pounds to wrestle at the high school level in North Carolina.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he had to cut a little weight from football to wrestle, and then with all the cardio and the working out and keep going. Once his weight comes off, it's like it just keeps coming off. So his head football coach or his offensive line coach at Western Carolina, he come to the house and did his visit, and we were talking about wrestling. And he said, "Stephen, I appreciate the fact, son, you want to wrestle, and I hear you're pretty good at it." He said, "But don't show up in July 1 ounce under 300 pounds."
Wow.
So he's eating us out of house and home. So for those of you that are chicken farmers, God bless y'all. Keep making those chickens, keep making those eggs. 'Cause I know where a lot of them are going in Ardell County.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about him on Twitter. So I keep up with you and him
Yep.
on Twitter. But I was
Yes, sir.
trying to find his at Twitter handle. His handle,
I
what you
think
call
it's
it.
Stephen J.
Oh, CBJ. Okay.
Let me see if I can pull it up right quick too.
'Cause I
Well,
have
while
it
you're
set.
hunting,
Yeah.
we do have a question come through.
Oh boy.
Dickie Dennis wants to know, did you, oh no, not Dickie, Philip Riot, did you ever pull over a NASCAR driver?
I have not pulled over a NASCAR driver. My former partner, Neil Hayes, Neil was unfortunately not a NASCAR fan. And one day coming down Highway 115 from the northern part of Iredell County, I heard him stop a car. And, of course, as we do, he gave the tag number, and ECOM, our dispatch, can you confirm that, please, sir? And Neil read off again. He goes, can you call us in? Can you call in? So Neil calls in. He comes to the office a little bit later. I'm like, dude, who did you stop? And I won't say who he stopped. But he's like, I didn't know he was a NASCAR guy. I'm like, dude, how did you not know he was a NASCAR? But
He went from around here probably.
no, he wasn't. He was from off west, kind of mid part of this country. But yeah. So, and then there's been some people got stopped down on Perth Road several years ago. Leave those folks nameless. And but yeah, we got a great relationship with the sheriff's office in NASCAR. A lot of our drivers down in the South End. In fact, there is one driver, and I will leave this gentleman nameless because he's an awesome guy. But his home got broke into. Oh. And several items got missing, and we located some down in Charlotte, down at one of the pawn shops. Uh-oh. And here again, won't say what it was, but when we called him to tell him that we'd recovered his property, Sheriff Campbell was running for his second election. So jokingly, we said, look, man, we appreciate the fact that you appreciate us for getting your stuff back, but maybe you can put a sticker on the roll bar. And when you have an in-car camera, and he's like, guys, that'd be like $25,000. I'm like, for a little sticker? He went, yeah. No, we're not going to do that. But yeah, we got a good relationship with a lot of the NASCAR folks.
Yeah, I know Noah Gregson was he got in pretty tight with Sheriff Campbell as far as giving him his phone number, that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, hey, tell him to come on the show. So he gave him my information, but I haven't heard a thing from him.
Yeah, actually, just sitting here thinking, I know it's been forever since we've had a snow here in Iredell County, but the last time we had a snow, a rather significant NASCAR driver managed to find his way into one of our patrol cars and do some spinning in the snow. So that was pretty cool. So
yeah, it is cool.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, it's a great relationship. Mooresville NASCAR, the whole scene is just really, really, really cool. And you have those folks that run for the law and those that are the law, but for the most part, really cool relationship with all those folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good stuff. You always hear about back in the day, especially some of the truck drivers used to just really haul the mail, so to speak, down the interstates and stuff.
You had to get paid.
Oh yeah,
Henry? For sure. Yeah, Henry Banfield being one piccolo player.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stories about him.
Oh yeah.
How fast he would go and stuff. And I think he actually ended up going to court one time, and they said you were going 116 mile an hour or something like that. And he said, "You think that truck would go that fast?"
Hauling all that way.
And sure enough, it really would.
There's been some good times in and around.
Right quick, it's Stephen Hamby. His Twitter is. This is your son, Stephen.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen STEVENJ Hamby 23.
Yep.
So follow him, and you got one too though.
I do somewhere.
That's Michael Jordan's number, right?
Yeah, 23.
That's the graduation year, and I tell you what, for those of you that have kids that want to play ball and go to college, apparently every high school coach and every college coach in the world uses Twitter. Mm-hmm. Twitter is how you get it done. I mean, you'd be amazed at the amount of coaches and the conversations and the Twitter stuff. So make sure, folks, just take it from somebody who's managed to get their kid there. If you're going to have a child that wants to go play a college sport, make sure they have a Twitter page. Make sure that their name is there and their graduation year and all their bio stuff, because that's how coaches do a lot of searching for you. If it's, great big kid, 46, who is that? Use their name, use some identifiers. So
it's a free it's a free resume.
It is a free resume. And I tell you, it's incredible how sports now is dominated by social media. Mm-hmm. When we were talking to coaches and going to places, that okay, give us your name, your address, your date of birth, and we need all your online identifiers.
Oh.
because they'll tell you they look at your stuff, you know, and if they see pictures of guns, they see pictures of drugs or partying or the red Solo cup or anything inappropriate, they'll tell you, and they make no bones about it. They'll chunk it in the can because they'll tell you there's way more kids trying to get into my school than we got spots. And if that's what you're doing now, what are you going to do when you get away from mom and daddy at my school? So they won't even touch you.
Yeah, true.
Makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Joe Nix mentioned. Let's see. I'll just let you read that.
Hello, Joe.
Yeah. The bottom one. That's what he said.
Captain Stone stopped the NASCAR dude. Yes. Yeah, he did. Yep. That would have been Greg back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. Yes. Yeah, I know that.
Oh yeah, the sun.
But
So
yeah,
the sun
it's
finally is out of my eyes. I was dodging it for like 10 minutes.
bobbing and weaving.
Well, what's Sheriff Campbell been up to? Has he been busy?
Listen, incredibly busy. Yeah, we were up in Washington not too long ago. I know he was on the phone today with Senator Sawyer and a couple of our House reps, trying to get some things done for Iredell County, National Sheriff Association, North Carolina Sheriff's Association. He will be assumed president of the North Carolina Sheriff Association, I think in June, for all of next year. So there's a lot of stuff he's doing behind the scenes with the leadership of the Sheriff's Association, preparing, getting ready. I know he's got several trips, or they have several trips planned for him to attend. So yeah, he's out and about. We were out and about Saturday going to some community events, and tonight he's probably at the office now doing some work. I know he had some stuff. Budget time's coming up. I know he's got a meeting this week with Miss Mull, county manager. So it's getting budget time.
Beth.
Yep. And it's crazy to think that years ago nobody wanted to get into law enforcement, and then we went through the 2000, the 2019, 2020, 2021 defund, and now we can't find enough to hire. So it's trying to stay competitive with the salaries, with the the incentive packages. The recruiting is constant. We've got 3 or 4 guys and girls. All they do is recruit. So he's staying very, very busy.
So if someone wants to be recruited, what do they need to do in order to be able to get in?
Well, right now we did, and I think it is still open. Forgive me if it has closed down, but I think it may still be open. We have a recruit program through the sheriff's office where you actually apply. And if you get through the process, we will actually hire you and pay you to go to school, to go to basic law enforcement training. But to be a certified officer in North Carolina now, you have to go through what they call basic law enforcement, or BLET.
Okay.
A lot of community colleges offer it. I know we work very well with Mitchell, Rowan Cabarrus, Catawba Valley Community College. And it's almost 700 hours now of training in all sorts of different areas of law enforcement. And then you have to pass a state test to be basically certified. And it used to be back in the dinosaur days when I went, you had to get a letter of sponsorship to go, or you had to pay. And now we're hiring people and sending them to school. Just so you
Big
can make sure
change.
that you get good. Yeah, it's a big change. You're seeing it. You're seeing it in law enforcement now nationwide, where you're actually, if you're an agency and you're waiting halfway through one of these schools or even up to graduation to try to recruit folks, they're gone. Somebody else has sucked them up. And right in this area, although we have a lot of community colleges, you're fighting with Charlotte Mecklenburg, Huntersville, Cornelius, Davidson, Iredell County, Statesville, Mooresville, Troutman, just here, Highway Patrol, SBI, Hickory. So there's a lot of concentration of law enforcement agencies for a very small pool of people.
True.
And you want to make sure that you're getting top-notch, top-quality candidates, because you just don't want anybody, you wouldn't want anybody just showing up at your door if you call 911.
Exactly.
And as Sheriff Campbell is known for saying, we would rather have a vacancy than hire a liability.
I agree to that.
So,
Makes perfect
we're
sense.
always looking for, now we have had the last couple weeks, an agency west of us and an agency south of us. We've talked to several folks from those 2 agencies that are like, hey, you guys are paying, you got good equipment, you got good morale, can we come work for you guys? And these are 10, 15, 16-year tenured officers that are ready to try to come and work with us. And we're like, man, apply, baby. We'll see if we
Right.
can make it right.
Yep.
And with our incentives now, we have a full-time day shift, a full-time night shift, and 2 shifts that swing.
Okay.
daytime, nighttime. So we're trying to make it palatable and kind of hit people where they're staying. Some people work nights. I remember years ago, I loved working night shift. So, you know, if you work night shift for the sheriff's office, you get more pay.
Right.
So, you know, you're getting that shift premium. So, yeah, and it's a good place to work. I mean, it really is. Sheriff lets us get out, do our job, do our thing, and, you know,
I think
we
it's
get the
cool.
law people if they need it.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
for
it's
sure.
cool that you guys are doing the full-time daytime and full-time nighttime, because I remember back in the day you rotated.
You know, and that was one of the things that it gave us all a lot of heartburn. A lot of the command staff were like, okay, man, what can we do? And our recruiters are going out, you know, and they're meeting these young kids, and they're like, well, I'm working night shift now. Can I work night shift? Well, yeah, you work it for 2 weeks. They're like, oh, then I got to work 2 weeks of days. So we said, okay, we'll try it and see as kind of a pilot. And man, it took off. And the folks that work night shift love it. The guys and girls that work first shift, they love it. So happy wife, happy life, happy family, happy employee. I mean, it just works out well for everybody.
Yeah. Who gets to drive the Bearcat?
Well,
Not David.
hey, listen, we'll put David in it. There's a funny story about the Bearcat. We've got 3 or 4 guys that are certified on our cert team to drive the Bearcat. We didn't have it. We haven't had it very long, and we had a rather volatile hostage type situation down toward Troutman. And Sheriff Campbell, of course, was on scene. And there are some devices that we can put on the front of the vehicle. One is like a big door ram, and you could knock stuff down with the truck. So it was joked about, well, you know, we can hit the side of this window and knock the window in. And the sheriff's like, I wouldn't do that. Yeah. By the time we got the truck woed up, like the whole side of the house was. Guy come out of the attic though, so I mean, you know, there was a means to an end, but the sheriff still gives that particular deputy a hard time. Like, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all, watch this.
That thing don't just stop on a dime.
No. I'm telling you, it has paid dividends. You know, we had the one instance, you know, you've heard about it, heard us talk about on the radio, where we actually had some deputies get shot at, and we were in the Bearcat. So had we not had that piece of equipment, we could have possibly had some deputies hurt or killed. So it paid for itself within the first 2 or 3 months.
So the Bearcat, our listeners, if they don't know, for one thing, it was paid for with drug money.
Drug dealer money. Yep. Federal asset forfeiture money. Yep. Dope dealer money.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about the vehicle itself.
It is a armored vehicle. It is bulletproof up to a particular caliber. We can put all of our CERT team operators inside of it. There are bench seats down each side. They all have little jack connects where their earphones that they wear can plug in, so they have live communications inside the vehicle. It has speakers. It has floodlights, blue lights. It has a turret that comes up out of the top of it where we can use it to either do surveillance on people or have one of our operators that shoots what we call a gas gun or CS gas, things like that. So they're able to employ those type of munitions while they're being protected. And it's a beast of a thing, man. It really is. It's a nice ride.
That's awesome. That's like a military vehicle. I mean,
we have that, and then we do have the MRAP, which is a mine resistance something military.
Is it like a tank?
No, it's a wheel vehicle. It's got great big wheels on it. You need to come out and wrench on that thing a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I
like that.
I want to come.
It's one of those deals where you have to take the armor off the bottom of it to do anything with it motor wise.
Gotcha.
So when we were able to get it, the sheriff got it through some associations through the National Sheriff's Association. Well, okay, so you can get this thing for free. So there again, it didn't cost us anything. All we had to do is pay to ship it here from Texas. So when we got it, we're like, now what are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
So we actually had to reach out to a couple heavy equipment companies here in Iredell County that can work on it, change oil, things like that. But it's pretty sweet too. It really is.
Yeah, I think you'd probably have to have some type of a bay that you just drive that thing in, and the person's down in the ground.
Yeah.
And then they have to have a lift to take the plate off the bottom and all that kind of stuff.
Well, if I'm not mistaken,
What?
Yates used to make parts for military that were of the sort.
Yeah, well, there's a machining processes that can be made that can be you can get military contracts is what it is basically. But it's top secret stuff still.
There was some stuff that was on it that obviously had to be removed. Once we got it, the feds went, you got to take that off first and send that back to us. So we did have to remove some items off of it, but just a really neat use of equipment. And everybody's like, you're militarizing law enforcement. No, there's nothing offensive on these things.
No, you just got to keep people safe.
The MRAP specifically, the reason that we got that one is because it's set so high up off the ground for high water rescues and things of that nature. So we have that. Obviously, it is bullet resistant. So if we needed to, we can employ it. But that's what the Bearcat's for. The Bearcat, the reason we got it and the reason we designed it as such is a lot of it is, God forbid, anything ever happened at a school or a church or a business, it's set so low to the ground that we can actually use that as a moving barrier to extricate kids, to extricate people out of a building or whatever, and provide cover for those children. Or if we needed to get medical first responders into a scene, we could take them from a place of safety and put them into a situation where they could provide aid and still keep them safe as well. So a lot of thought process went into both vehicles.
Yeah, all right, very good stuff right there. And we'll get more into that, but we're going to go take a quick break, and we'll be right back, and we're going to talk to Bill Hamby, and we're going to have Bryson take a phone call, and he's going to talk to David Johnson. You're going to talk a little bit about the race this past weekend, and then we're going to get Chief Deputy Bill's just Bill, your first race experience.
Oh boy!
Or your only NASCAR race, I guess. But yeah. All right. So we'll be right back to Racing Roots with Hamm. Don't go anywhere.
When you cut lawns for a living, reliability matters. Check out the Kubota commercial lineup with purpose-built mowers like the Z700 Zero Turn, SC Stand-On, and the W Series Walk Behind. Decreased downtime and increased productivity. A comprehensive fleet program with special discounts and free loaners helps grow your business, one perfectly manicured lawn at a time. Visit Statesville Ag and Turf, 2457 Simonton Road.
As the best traditional hardware store that Statesville has, Fort Dobbs Hardware provides a convenient location for people who want to stay away from the hustle and bustle of the big shopping centers. Fort Dobbs Hardware has just about everything you need, from plumbing, electrical, paint supplies, hardware from nuts and bolts to door handles, home goods, and tools. And we support local businesses in the area by buying locally produced items. Made here in North Carolina.
One 5-762-8247. It's the Shellam Klein Homecoming Saturday night, March 25th, 6 p.m. with doors opening at 5:30 right here at WAME Radio, 101 South Center Street in Statesville. This event is brought to you by Troutman Sheet Metal Heating and Cooling and WAME 92.9 and 550 AM.
Real Country 550 and 92.9 WAME.
And we are back to Racing Roots with Hamm. And whenever I have the mic turned up with the phone, when we have a phone call, it does that. It makes that noise. You remember that last week, Bryson?
Yeah, we actually had a caller too on Thursday night, and I was like, I noticed it more when I was like the one pressing the buttons, because I'm thinking, what am I doing wrong? But yeah, I don't know why that is. But yeah.
So I'll let you do the talking, because it's I'm not going to be able to as soon as I turn this up.
Oh, okay.
So there you go.
All right. All right, we got a caller on the line. It's doing the same thing for me too.
It is.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay. Well, maybe it's not just my microphone then. Okay, so David, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you want to go ahead and just do your talking. It's not doing it now. Well, there it goes.
Just a little bit.
A little bit.
So go ahead, go for it, David. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, sir. Well, this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we raced at Phoenix Raceway out in Avondale, Arizona. It's the site of the NASCAR Championship weekend, the first weekend of November. and we had a 50-minute practice on Friday, and Kyle Larson was quick, and the 400 cars had the hood louvers taken or confiscated by NASCAR. It's basically what that does is it lets all the heat and pressure out from underneath the hood, which creates front downforce. It takes basically a negative air away. So that's a NASCAR supplied product. So you can't alter that or modify or change it, anything of that nature. So more than likely, I would think there's probably going to be some suspensions, monetary fine, maybe some points involved there based on the past. And so going to Sunday and Saturday, Kyle Larson won the pole for the Cup race. And then we saw the Xfinity Series race, which was kind of single file for a long time. But Sammy Smith, which is a rookie in the series from Joe Gibbs Racing, driving the number 18 Pilot Toyota, he was really, really dominant. And he actually won, which was his first career victory, but he's 18 and still in high school. So he's probably going to be around for a long, long time to come. And then Sunday, we had the Cup Series race, which was dominated by the Hendrick drivers of Kyle Larson and William Byron. And then kind of late on, Kevin Harvick crept up there and was really, really fast in the long run, took the lead from Larson and stretched it out. Then they had a caution flag with 10 to go, and we saw same thing that happened at Vegas where one driver was really, really far out there, and pit strategy kind of determined it, and running off pit road. Harvick was actually the first car that came out with 4 tires. He restarted 8 and was only able to make it back up to 5th. And William Byron was actually able to get around Larson on the restart and won for the second week in a row. So as we've seen a lot of times in the past, at Phoenix they had a new rules package, a short track, short oval package, and like we've seen multiple times with the car tomorrow, with the Gen 7, all that situation, anytime there's changes, Hendrick usually jumps on top of it really good. So with William Byron being back-to-back wins, and then with Alex Bowman leading the points, and then even Josh Berry finished in the top 10. So they had all 400 cars in the top 10. So it was really, really good racing for Phoenix. Phoenix is usually kind of strung out somewhat. So it was a pretty good show yesterday.
Yeah, that's it definitely was a good show yesterday. I think one of the most relevant things that you pointed out was how fast Kyle Larson was all weekend, and you take just a short 15-minute practice. It's the first time we've really seen a practice all year. You take a 15-minute practice and Larson's fast. You take a qualifying run and he's hot in qualifying. Leads pretty much the majority of the race, and then you throw in a classic, late race caution, and everybody's got a pit. You see Kevin Harvick make the pass there before the caution, and he elects to take 4 tires, which ultimately ended his day. There was just a lot going on, and really Kyle Larson was fast, but Kevin Harvick was really fast on the long run, which I think surprised a lot of people because he kind of showed up there at the end. But it was really cool to see with the new rules package. I think it reminds me of like 7 years ago, whenever they sort of took the spoiler away. If you look at the spoiler yesterday, there's barely anything back there. So it really, I think they said it took away 40% of the downforce on the cars. So the drivers wanted that. So these cars are harder to drive now, and it's there's less downforce, so you really got to get up on the wheel, and I think that's why Kyle Larson, by the way, was so fast, because he's just such a wheel man. Yeah, we had a great race, and William Byron, I think, you watched last week's race, and then you watched yesterday's race. He's really stepped up. I think he's racing really smart this year. And another thing to point out that I just read today, all 4 race winners have been Chevrolets. So a lot of cool things that are sort of we're able to point out just 4 races in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a good race recap.
I was wanting to talk about the William Byron situation because anytime there's a possibly an open Hendrick rider, you have like a hot driver on the market, such as when they were talking about Harvick maybe changing teams, and then ultimately Kyle Busch last year and things of that nature. Usually his name pops up at Hendrick or Alex Bowman, but you kind of seen William come into his own. And last year they paired him with Rudy Fugle, which is, as far as in my opinion, is probably one of the best all-around crew chiefs out there because he's one with multitudes of different drivers driving the same equipment, such as him being a crew chief over at KBM. And actually, he was Williams' crew chief when William drove that truck back in 2016, if I remember correctly. And they won, I think it was 9 races, and would have won the championship if they hadn't, more than likely would have won the championship if they hadn't blown up at Phoenix the race before Homestead for the championship race. So he's got a lot of talent, and when you match that talent with good crew chiefing, good teammates, the support you get from Hendrick there, Chevrolet, they're going to be hard to reckon with.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think when it comes to William Byron, he's one of those guys that moved up the ranks so fast. I think it almost took him a couple of years to kind of lock his place in and get comfortable. So now we're getting into those years where he's familiar with the Cup Series and he can really run up front with the big guys. I think when you look at Hendrick, other than maybe Chase Elliott and recently Kyle Larson, I think William Byron's probably one of the more consistent drivers out of the Hendrick camp right now. So. Yeah, I expect 2 wins. Well, he's won 50% of the races now this year, so I'd say he's off to a good start and expecting a lot of good things out of him this season for sure.
Yes, sir. If we have time, I was wanting to point out about how you were speaking of, and I was speaking of how Harvick was on the long run compared to Kyle Larson on the short run, and that I've worked in racing for a long time, but basically, it's really, really hard to have a really good short-run car and a really, really good long-run car. Usually, if you have a really good long-run car, you're so on the short run, and then as it goes on, you get way, way better. Usually, if you have a good short-run car, most of the time it doesn't transition into a long-run car. And basically, what happens is, especially somewhere like Phoenix, places of that nature where you have a lot of brake heat, you basically build air pressure. So you want to start your pressures out as low as you can for optimal grip, and then the lower the pressure, the more grip you have, but also the more damage it does to the integrity of the tire, such as the sidewall bead area. So to basically make the car come in faster, you pump the air pressure up, which basically makes it a short run car. Well, if you're anticipating a long green flag run, you'll start the pressures low and let them build, but that takes the car more time to come in. So that's kind of the way you see, such as when Larson kind of got outdueled on the long run where Harvick came from 3-4 seconds behind to pass him, and then Harvick extended that out by like 4 seconds. So from the start of the run to the end of the run, Harvick gained 7 seconds on Larson. So that's kind of the scenario. Basically, when you have a 10-lap run, 5-lap run to the checker, you'll pump the air pressures up and loosen the chassis up just a little bit to help it rotate, and that way it comes in faster. So you can kind of dictate what the car does based on what scenario you're looking for.
All right. Well, thank you, David. Appreciate you calling in and telling us that information, and we'll talk to you probably next week. All right. Have a good week. All right, so that was David Johnson. Appreciate him calling, talking about the race, getting us dialed in, because I didn't get to see any of the race this weekend. So it was, but we won the ARCA race.
That's good.
Yeah, with the Robert Yates Racing engine. So
yeah,
that was good. He was 15 years old. The name, I never heard the kid's name before, Tyler Reif.
Mm-hmm. Reif, R-E-E-F?
R-E-I-F.
Reif, okay.
Had he won prior to the race, or was that his first?
Rife. Yeah, R-I-F-E. I even wrote it here, R-I-F-E.
So now from a law enforcement standpoint, so what I'm hearing you say is a 15-year-old's driving fast?
Yes.
Yeah, man, he's driving fast. I guess it's on. I don't know if it's
getting money to do it.
I don't know if you call that private property or what.
Say, driving without a license there. We have to have a chat.
Yeah.
Man, it's so surprising. Well, not anymore, but it's like when you first start like keeping up with like the late model scene and the ARCA stuff. It's really like when I started really getting into it. It's like it's shocking at how young a lot of these guys are, because you've got 12-year-olds out here driving like near late model cars, and it's like insane.
I went one time down to the go-kart track on Mazeppa. I guess is that Mazeppa Road? The GoPro part.
Yeah, the GoPro.
And literally, this kid could not have been 7, 8 years old, and had his little fire suit on, his helmet, and he strapped into that little go-kart, and away he went, and I was amazed. I was doing good to ride a big wheel back at that age, and this kid is out there flying around that track. Yeah, man.
It's crazy, and
yeah,
they got fast reaction time too because they play the video games.
You got to have something, man, because you get my age, man. There's no reaction time. You're just sore. Yeah, you're just kind of laying over, iced up, man. Come on.
I did that. That was like 12 laps, and then it was like I had to do another race like 30 minutes later, and I was like, I'm already stiffened up. I'm already hurt, you know. Feel like I just had a workout.
There's not a whole lot of shocks on those little things. But man, I'm telling you what, that young man was just super impressive.
Yeah, for sure. And so tell us about your first race or your only race.
Oh boy.
He's like, do I really want to?
Well, you know, I know my mother-in-law's listening and my wife's listening, so I got to be careful. But my mother and father-in-law, huge race fans back in the day. I mean, Martinsville, Bristol, Wilkesboro, Atlanta, wherever there was a race, they were traveling. And my wife and I had just started dating, and I was like, y'all go have fun. Woo, that's awesome. So my dad-in-law, he said, hey, would you like to go to the race? And I'm like, no, sir, no, I'm good. Y'all go have fun. I'll watch it on TV. So he's like, okay. So about a week later, my wife says, or my girlfriend at the time says, hey, Dad got you a ticket. I'm like,
oh, great.
Great. Yeah. She's like, yeah, and it's like $85. Well, now I'm like, man, I feel bad if I don't go.
Right.
So we go and we park at, I'm gonna call it, you knew it, David, the Big Rock, somewhere down there. It was this camp place. Tom Johnson's, yeah, Big Rock. So it's still like a mile to the racetrack. So it's hot, and I'm having to tote the cooler, and everything. And then we get there, we got to stand in line. People were peaking way too early from pre-gaming. So then we climb the steps and climb the steps and climb the steps and climb the steps. And we sit down, and I'm like, praise the Lord. And you can see a thunderstorm coming.
Oh.
So this is back in the days when you could still, I guess, eat chicken wings and throw beer cans,
Yes.
So the seats were in what they referred to as turn 1, turn 2. Now I'm pretty smart, so if you got a oval, there's a turn on this end and a turn on that end. So to me, there's 2 turns. But so we're between turn 1 and turn 2, and they really were awesome seats. So we were way up high, and race starts, and it was really cool. I say I had a great time, and this gentleman 5 or 6 rows below us was a big Bill Elliott fan, and you could see the cars down the front stretch, turn 1, turn 2, back stretch, into turn 3, and then for just like a split second you couldn't see the cars, and then you could see the cars. So from the time he saw Bill Elliott, he was woo through turn 1, turn 2, turn back stretch. Well, for that split second that he couldn't see Bill, he was turning up a cold beer. So after about 200 laps of that, the crowd was not his best friend. Okay, so a couple big old boys had gone out there, hey dude, just chill. Well, then the rain came. I think you were there working that race, weren't you?
Probably so. Yeah.
The rain came, and it was a 3 or 4 hour delay, and we sat out in the rain, and the chicken wings now were wet, soggy chicken wings, and as you know, B.B. King says, the thrill is gone.
Yeah.
Okay. So the rain goes away, and they bring out these jet motors on these trucks, which I thought was the coolest thing, and the jet trucks. Well, the guy that was the Bill Elliott fan had been power drinking cold beer the whole time. So he was well lubricated by now. He starts cheering for the jet truck. It wasn't very long before 4 or 5 beer cans and a whole bunch of chicken wings down at him, and he got up and walked away. So I think I got home like at 4 o'clock the next morning, had to be to work at 6.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
oh, my gosh,
but, many a sight you will see at a NASCAR race. I'm here to tell you now, that was quite the experience.
He
They call
sounds
that.
he sounds like a beer man twin.
Oh yeah, the beer man, Scott Trevison.
He likes to cheer things on.
Yeah, he does. They call that area down there Chicken Bone Alley.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. You know, I've been watching the news, looking in the news to see Wilkesboro coming back, the revival of the Wilkesboro track. I think that's great. The history of, you know, the roots of NASCAR coming back. I'm looking forward for good things to see in that venture. I think that'd be really cool.
Do you think you'd ever go?
Oh, I'd go back. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd go back.
I was there for the last North Wilkesboro race in 1996 because I was still the jackman then. Well, I had just started. Well, I was 2 years into it with Kyle Petty at the time.
Right.
Yeah. So that was a good track.
I think it's as cool as it can be, and of course with my dad coming from Wilkes County, you know, going back to our roots. He and Benny Parsons were first cousins.
Oh,
so there's
that's
many a cool story that my dad told me in later years of life.
Yeah.
About the good old days back up in Wilkes County doing various things in Wilkes County.
I can imagine so. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's
There's some particular liquid involved.
Oh yeah, of
Yes,
course.
absolutely.
There's a Call family distillery up there, and he has a lot of pictures of Willie Clay Call.
Yep.
And Junior Johnson.
Yeah.
And you know, we've had Bill Blair on our show, whose dad he won Daytona in 1953, and he's probably listening, I'm sure. And his dad run moonshine, and of course back in the 30s and the 40s, and then got into NASCAR.
Yeah, there's a book out, and Dad, I know you'd have been listening and smiling as I tell this story. One of the funny stories that my dad, he was just a cool guy. Remind me a lot of your dad, just really salt of the earth kind of guys. And it's called Deny the Allegations and Damn the Alligators. And it's written by a ATF agent that was assigned to Wilkes County in the 40s, 50s, and early 60s. And one part of the book, the guy talks about a well-known NASCAR figure. He never calls the man by name, but we all know who he's talking about. And having this big steal, and they were going to set this big trap and spring this trap and all. So he goes into this great detail about that. And then he says, you know, the morning came and we sprang the trap, and I told him, this is the guy I want. This is the guy I want. So he goes in detail about grabbing the well-known NASCAR figure by the coat. And he said the guy wiggled loose and ran off, and they never did catch him. So as part of the book, it talks about downtown Wilkesboro and the old store and a lot of the people around Wilkesboro. So I read the book, thought it was really cool. So I'll give it to my dad to read. And Dad said about 5 words a year, you know, one of those old stoic guys. And a couple months later, he called me. He said, you can come get your book. I said, okay. So I went and picked it up. I said, well, what'd you think about it? He went, I didn't think much of it. I said, what do you mean? He said, that man's a liar. I said, what do you mean he's a liar? He said, he never grabbed him by the coat. And it didn't dawn on me at the time when it didn't dawn on me when Daddy said it. And I went, what do you mean? He's like, don't worry about it. That ain't how it happened.
Now that's cool.
I was like, okay, that's
pretty
kind of cool, Dad. So yeah, that's my dad's story.
Yeah. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Robert left a comment. Julio. Yeah.
Tell Bill I said thank him for his service.
Oh, God bless you. Thank you, friend. Appreciate that. We couldn't do it. We couldn't do what we do without the support of the public. I mean, you know, for those that backed the sheriff and voted him in, you know, fortunately, God bless us all, and him especially, he hadn't had any competition last 2 elections. So that's good for us, good for the agency, because you see a lot of agencies across the state. You know, you have one person run, another person run inside the agency, and there's all this tension, or you know, you have several people running against your boss, and it just a lot of unneeded stress. And we've been very fortunate not to do that, but we couldn't do that without the community. So we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that guy Robert served Julio. He worked for he was Jeff Gordon's tire changer and fabricator back in the day.
All right, so let me ask you a question. I know it's your show, but I got to ask you a question.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, listening to these two gentlemen, tell me about setting a car up. What do you do? I mean, you know, I'm sure you got notebooks and data and computers, but you can't take a Charlotte car and run it at Phoenix, or you couldn't take a Richmond car and run it at Daytona.
Yeah. All right. So back in the day, you typically could go and test at the different tracks, and you have your notes from your test, or you have your notes from the time before how you set the car up, the caster camber, bump steer, and all this track bar setting.
All right, wait a minute, stop.
Yeah.
Bring it down redneck.
He says, so basically, they go off the way the racetrack is set up.
There you go. Thank you. Okay, I get you now.
So
let me dumb it down.
Yeah, there's the angle of the track.
Yeah.
Which a lot of times the tracks are set by the angle of repose. Okay, and I know
How much curvature?
I did that on purpose. Though.
Crickets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. All right. So there's the like if you take sand and you pour sand down, and then it lands in a perfect looking pyramid, right? So that angle is the angle of that dirt, the angle of repose that dirt makes. But like if you took red clay and did that, and it's going to come down probably at a different angle, maybe.
Right.
So then that's typically your strongest base for a track. But they can't do that typically all the way around the track.
Okay.
Of course, tracks like Bristol are really banked like that. So, but certain tracks you're going to have more camber, which is the tilt of the tires, the front tires.
Okay.
So they're
So
typically
in my house,
be,
I call that a bad front end alignment.
oh, bad front end alignment. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, which is typically going to be what they'll do is you'll check tire temperatures. Like you'll check them right after you come off the track and check them in like three spots.
That's the blowtorch thing, right?
That's that's to check the depth of how much your tire wear.
Okay.
Like you can scrape that off, and then check the depth with the tire depth gauge in the little holes. But there's if it's like, let's say your tire is hotter on the outside, then you know that your camber is too positive, so you need to angle out some more, make it more negative. Okay. Which will turn the tire out like that.
So is it possible for a car to turn really without turning the steering wheel by the way you set the tires?
Yeah, and a lot of times the race cars were set up to where the tire, you have to pull it this way to go straight. You have to actually pull it to the right to go straight, and then let off of it in the curves kind of thing, you know. And then of course I think you could set it up depending on your driver's comfort and what they like and stuff. And then back in the day you had front steer and rear steer cars, which was where the steering box was compared to the in the inside the car.
Okay.
Yeah,
and it can be adjusted on the track as they're racing as well. They've got different secrets that they do.
Glad you said the S word. So, from a law enforcement, sir, let me go ahead and preface this. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say.
Yeah.
So now I'm not going to ask you to divulge any secrets, but in 2023. Okay. Now we've been racing cars since what? The 40s. So from let's say the late 30s to 2023. What more can you do to a car to make it go faster without being able to get caught? Yeah. Other than swapping parts like this gentleman was talking about.
Yeah, really you can't do a whole lot now. I mean, you can look in the rule book. You can look in the rule book, you can figure out what they didn't include in there. But as soon as you do this, then they're going to include that in the rule books, you know. So
because I have watched them on television where they put like these little templates down on top of it, and they're sliding little paper under it, and little things and all. Yeah.
Now they've got like a booth that's enclosed, and they run the cars through there, and it's laser scanned. So the cars are like they have to be perfect to the. Because I think Ray Evernham back in the 90s was really popular for the way that he would warp a quarter panel or change up the aerodynamics, just a small thing that makes a big difference.
Right.
And now they have no ability to do that because everything's computerized. So they run through this big tent with all these lasers in it, and they can't get away with anything. They confiscated a couple of parts from Hendrick Motorsports, and now with the way that NASCAR supplies the parts for the teams, it's like there's no way to there's not much wiggle room to change up your parts, and so everybody's a little bit more competitive this way, but there's not as much uniqueness, I guess, from team to team. So,
So the main secret to getting more horsepower is air.
Right.
The better air you get, the better you
The
drive.
better off you are. So now, you obviously have a skill set as an engine builder. Okay. So if you worked for Robert Yates Racing and you went to work for another team,
competitor.
Okay. Do you have to sign a non-disclosure as to what they may do over here, or is that what's in your brain you take with you?
Sometimes you do, yes.
Okay.
And then it's usually set for a certain amount of time. You know, that's where a lot of teams started going to contracts.
Right.
You know, you'd have like a 3-year contract or whatever it is. And then, but the non-disclosure, yes, I've had to actually sign that before. Yeah. And that's so you can't take your secrets and go somewhere else.
Like you say, it's air, fuel, and compression. Okay, that makes an engine go boom.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
how are you able to build? Let's say that you worked for a Toyota company and then you went to work for Yates. How is it not possible to take some of the information you learned here and not use here?
Well, yeah, you could definitely.
I mean, is there a wiggle room that, like, okay, I got to build motors, so I got to do this and this?
Yeah.
So an
There
easy
is.
question to that is there a difference in the different manufacturers' parts? Because that makes the huge difference in
Right.
the manufacturers' parts.
Well, okay.
You
Truth be
can't do
known,
certain things with Toyota versus a Chevrolet.
Yeah, but a lot of this stuff nowadays isn't even in the same. It's not even manufacturer parts.
Right.
So yes, they're kind of the same in a lot of ways. The blocks will be different. You know, there might be the cylinder numbers different, that kind of stuff. But they're all basically the same. And you can take stuff from one to the other. It's just you can't. Here's what you can't do. Whenever you're working for an engine shop, you can't say, okay, this is our cam specs. You can't go and tell someone else that kind of information. Like, this is our, you know, we're running really good, or our intake manifolds are running really good. But if you're in a contract within a certain amount of time, that just means you can't go work at another team in NASCAR. Let's say you can't go work from a competitor for another team. Yeah, and that's happened throughout the history. In NASCAR, there's been drivers that had actually sued employees that left because they said, no, you can't go and work on another team. So they had to sit out for a year. You know, so one of those deals. But whether or not they went and gave out the secrets in that time, I mean, that's between them and God, I guess.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So how much of a NASCAR? Because I know there's different levels of racing, but what we see on Sunday afternoon, how much of a NASCAR car is manufactured, and how much is you guys making the shop?
Let's see. All right, so let's say the Ford engine is not the Ford engine is a lot of the parts are made by Ford, but they're not what you would have in a regular street car.
Right.
You know, obviously they're made for racing, not like.
But I mean, are you guys like taking a chunk of aluminum and making the block, or are y'all making the cylinders, or? I mean, I know you guys do the frame. From what I understand, you build the frame for the most part, and then hang the sheet metal off of it. But everything else kind of comes in boxes. Yeah,
everything else comes in boxes from, let's say, from the factory, from the Ford, that'd be Ford or GM. So yeah, they are still somewhat like, let's say, some of the cars run what you run in a Corvette engine, basically the Corvette type stuff. Maybe a little bit better cam, a little bit better heads or intake, maybe a little bit, you know, just for racing effect. But, you know, back in the 60s, they would take them off the showroom floor and you'd go race. And that was the strictly stock that Bill France started, you know, in 1948 with the NASCAR. And 49 is when they actually first started racing those. And so
are there and maybe you can answer this question, just inquiring minds want to know, or at least mine does anyway. Are there any body styles or motors or things that just experimental stuff that never sees the track that you're like, wow, dude, if we could just do this would be so much cooler?
There has been stuff in the past that we've done that too, that we couldn't run, whether it was lighter parts, you know, titanium stuff that as soon as we started using it, then NASCAR said, no, you can't bring that. Or we would go out and win a race. We had, well, I probably shouldn't say statute limitations.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But
you have the right to remain silent if you in court.
True. Yes, let's just say we were using certain kind of valves, and then all of a sudden NASCAR says you can't. We won a bunch of races, and then people start complaining, and then they're like, no, you can't run those anymore. Whether it was the reason for those valves we were winning or not,
right? Somebody
complained, and another team. And then we just couldn't run them anymore.
So are they still doing, obviously I hear about post-race inspections. Are they really tearing stuff down like they used to back in the day, or is it just kind of we're looking at it and going, yeah, it looks good? And
used to they do like the top three, they would tear them down. And I'm assuming they're still doing that.
So when you guys get them back, are they put back together, or are they just in parts and pieces?
A lot of times the head would be off but put back on, and just maybe a nut or two run back down. And so it's still in pieces. So we would get it back in pieces. I mean, pieces, but just kind of pieced together.
Right.
But the thing is that there's always a tuner or an engine builder or somebody there with the engine whenever they do tear it down.
Oh, so you do have a team representative there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the one that gets yelled at if it ain't right.
Now, if they, yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's been times where you got a rule compression for rules like rule compression rule 12-1, and then we try to set them at like 11.88 to 1 on the compression rule. But then as carbon builds up on top of the pistons, and it makes it closer to 12.
Right.
But that's why we did 11.88 instead of doing 11.99.
Right.
Because we knew that we needed a little bit of a fudge factor there, because you didn't want to get caught with a big engine.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's where then you get caught. Then you got that label that you're cheating.
Right.
And that's something that I've seen a lot of stuff in the past, but it's been over 20 years ago since I saw any kind of cheating or trying to cheat in the engine side. And it wasn't me.
So you got going back to the setting up different cars questions. What's the best track to race at, and what's the worst track to race at, as far as surface and car conditions and
Every driver's got a different opinion.
Yeah.
They do, and a lot of people probably say, and Bryson probably agreed that. Well, you can tell yours too, but
Yeah. Well, for me, it would be like a track like Texas. North Wilkesboro is the same way, because North Wilkesboro is a good example, because you go down the front stretch, you're going downhill. So there's a little bit of difference when you come up the back stretch, you're going uphill. So the way you set up the car has to fit turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You look at like Texas, which races differently. Turns 1 and 2 have a different degree of banking than 3 and 4. So I think as far as like setup, I would imagine that gives the engineers a little bit more of a headache, because they've got to like find a balance to where it runs. Because you can see guys at these tracks like carry well through 1 and 2, and then they're slower in 3 and 4, and it's like they have to find a good balance where they can be consistent. And I think those kind of tracks are probably harder to set up for.
So when you have a four-corner track like Indianapolis, which you just gotta hope for the best, or you setting up 1 and 2, or how you doing
relatively flat too. So Indianapolis is sort of like a different animal, and Pocono, but.
And then you got the road tracks all together. That's a whole nother mess.
It's got to be a mess.
Yeah, it is. But then the tracks that you typically come out of there without a car that's not or banged up. A car that's banged up a lot, it would be like Bristol,
right?
Because you're just beating and banging the whole race, typically.
Yeah. So, could we agree that we probably should or should not go back to the Rose Bowling race?
Oh, L.A. Coliseum, is that what that is? Yeah. Well, I think they're talking about going back, aren't they?
Yeah, there was even conversations about having like a regular season points race there, but they can't fit all 43 cars on that racetrack and run a regular race. Yeah. And like they want to stay in that market because there's construction happening at Auto Club, which held the LA market, but they've sold like a majority. They only have like 93 acres of that property left. They've sold it, so there's plans to make a short track, but for the next couple of years, there's not going to be any racing there. So they're probably going to stay at the Coliseum. I've never really been a fan of it. Like I've always thought, like I'm real nostalgic. So I think like when I think of Busch Clash, I think of like Daytona Speed Weeks. You got 2 weeks, and it's kind of old school. So I understand that they're trying to like cater to a newer market, I guess. But I don't know. I don't think the racing like it's good racing, but it's not. I just don't feel like it's as much NASCAR as it should be.
All right, and speaking of NASCAR, Mr. Bill Blair is tuned in, watching now, he said. So he's the one I was telling you, his dad won in 1953, and great guy. NASCAR legend, living legend. His first race he went to was in 1940. Oh, wow. You remember that year?
No.
None of us do.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
So did you ever get to go to Mexico and race any of the tracks down there?
No, I did not.
I
was at Phoenix one year, and we were, and let's see, I was a jackman for, I guess, Sterling that year. And we were there for the Busch race. I also jacked for Nemechek in the Busch Series, but we had the option to go over to Mexico. A couple of the guys were going to go, and they asked me if I wanted to go, and I said no. I'm going to stay here because Chuck Norris's son asked me to jack his car that day, and he raced in the Winston West Series. So I was like, "Is Chuck Norris here?" But no, he wasn't. But I still thought that was cool, and I got paid $100 instead of going to Mexico and losing money. There
you go,
handing money out or whatever.
So you were talking about nostalgia. What is up with the whole like one nut holding a tire on versus the 5 thing?
Quicker,
Yeah, but
faster.
is it as much drama?
So no, like so for me, if I'm taking, so if I got a buddy, like a lot of people my age anymore don't have as strong of interest in racing, right? So around here they do more, but like if I found a random person that had never been to a race before, and I wanted to take them to a race, popping 5 lugs on 4 tires around the car is pretty cool to watch. You know?
Absolutely.
So watching those guys run around, now they just kind of pop it on there. To me, this is like the one single lug thing is NASCAR trying to carbon copy F1 and trying to be like those guys, and that's just not, it's not who we are. And that's when you start, that's like your people that are in your the higher offices making the decisions that the people that are actually, you know, participating in the event don't really have much say in. So it's not as fun to watch. There's been conversations of like whether it might be safer, but now it seems like they lose wheels more than they used to. And before, like, they would get a vibration and know that their wheel was loose, but they'd be able to come in and change it. Now, if they don't get that thing on, it's coming off.
Right.
So I'm not a fan of it just because I'm old school. But
So let me ask the most sacrilegious question.
All right.
Do you ever envision a day of electric race cars?
That's
funny you
the
say
talk
that.
on the live chat.
They're having a conversation now about
Are
that.
they really?
Jim Dooley says that he started. I think he started
Tesla.
And what else did they say?
He said autopilot, like nobody's in the car.
It'll be that way before long.
Fully automatic drivers, fully automatic, autonomous. That's the word. Yeah.
I think there was a rumor that came out like last year that the Xfinity series, the future that they wanted for it was to turn it into like a electric series or something. I think what they'll do, and they were supposed to do it like this year or next year, where they like released a press release where they were going to have like a just a small race before like a big cup event, like 5 races a year, and demonstrate electric cars and how they race and try to show people that, hey, they can, you know, electric cars are fun to watch, you know, or whatever. Formula One has their
all
own,
you hear is
right. You'd be able to carry on a conversation during a race, but who wants to do that? You know?
What is that?
So I want to go. I want to feel the race car. So that's. I mean, that's part of it. Like the whole engine thing. Like I don't want to go watch a battery powered car run around for 500 laps.
It's called a remote controlled car.
Yeah.
Take it from our old tire changer here. Not old meaning old, but
Yeah,
well,
you
whatever. Julio Robert Search says 5 is a lot better than one big one. Yes.
There you go.
There you go.
I agree with that.
So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back. But we're going to have Dickie Dennis's question when we get back. How's that sound?
Know. We really need to ask that.
Yeah,
but
we
okay.
do. That'll be funny. So we'll be right back to Racing Roots with Hamm and Chief Deputy
Just Bill.
Just Bill.
This is Fred Lowry at Lowry Drug. We now have our own brand of full-spectrum hemp extract, also known as CBD oil. I personally manage this product as it was grown on my farm here in Iredell County. It was then processed and bottled here in Statesville. This is a true herbal extract with all the medicinal components intact. A product you can trust to be authentic. And since there is no wholesaler, it's at a price you can afford. Try it at Lowry Drug on Hartness Road in Statesville.
Everywhere you go, you see CBD. CBD this, CBD that. Well, I have another acronym for you. It's BBQ. That's right, BBQ.
Loved ones and gives you the peace of mind you deserve. Let us help you plan every detail with professionalism and compassion. We're Bunch Johnson Funeral Home, 705 Davie Avenue, Statesville. Call us at 704-873-7223 to schedule an appointment.
Real Country 550 and 92.9 WAME Statesville.
And we're back to Racing Roots with Hamm, and we have got Chief Deputy Just Bill Hamby.
Just Bill. Yes, sir.
Yes. In with us from the Iredell County Sheriff's Office. Tracy was trying to say Sheriff's Department, and I said
No. Office.
Yeah.
I don't know what I said.
Departments cost you $1.
That was last night. There you go. All right, go ahead with that question.
All right. Mr. Dickie Dennis wants me to ask Just Bill a question.
Uh-oh.
How would one go about petitioning the court system of Henrico County to have the ban lifted so that I can enjoy the race at my home track again?
All right, so here's the backstory now. We'll tell you on
now
air.
you want me to tell it.
You can tell him if you want to, but...
So Dickie Dennis is the infamous fence climber. He lives in Virginia.
Okay.
And he got banned from the Richmond Speedway for climbing the fence.
Okay.
And he was put in jail for 40 days.
Hello.
40?
40 days, had to pay
Dude, I'd have got your bond by then, surely.
He got massive fines, and he can never place a foot in the racetrack field again.
Why?
For climbing the fence.
I would recommend that you find a good attorney, and I would go after the whole life, liberty, pursuit of happiness thing. Mm-hmm. And the way our courts rule things now about protests or whatever. If you can burn a flag and say it's a protest, I can say climbing a fence is a protest, and it's against my First Amendment. You got to let me come in and watch a race.
There you go.
That's a good idea. I like that. That's a
pretty
great
good.
answer.
There you go.
And I had an idea. Well, Jim Dooley had an idea.
Or just get some really good binoculars. I mean, one or the other.
Climb a tree.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Jim Dooley up in Virginia says maybe an ankle bracelet in case you get the urge to climb a fence. I think they could put a shock collar on him just in case.
Just about to say that. Shock
there-
collars that have the button. You could have
Yes.
somebody that this is Dickie's guy. And if
Funny
Dickie
that you
gets
say
close to the
that.
fence.
When
He said ankle bracelet.
When we were out at one of the sheriffs with the national conference in Kansas and in Phoenix last year, you have the vendors that come, and of course they sell everything at these law enforcement shows. And there is a guy there that has a taser glove.
Man.
And this man is walking around like shocking people. And he come to me and I said, dude, don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Just don't even think about it. But apparently it's a demo model. I don't care. I'm not getting shocked.
Yeah, really.
But apparently they are quite effective in certain settings. So, Dickie, I don't want to get you shocked, buddy, but, it is what it is. If you go for the fence, somebody will grab you, but I still don't see why they won't let you
Jim
back
Dooley
in.
says put an electric ankle bracelet on him.
Yeah, and Dickie said he would wear an ankle bracelet that would light me up if I get near the fence. I'm just saying, being banned for life is a bit much.
There you go.
And Sissy Odell says, Dickie, you should just show up with another person's ID, but what'll happen then if he gets caught?
Jim Dooley says, go
facial
fund
recognition.
Yeah.
Go fund me for Dickie's defense.
I really don't. I really don't know that
great.
how somebody would recognize him. I guess if they have a facial recognition thing, but I don't think that
to buy a ticket.
You don't have to have a name to buy a ticket. Just go buy it.
Yeah, Ticketmaster and walk right in.
There you go. There's your cheapest answer right there.
That's it.
Just go.
That's outside of the rule books.
5-year charge if he gets caught. That's what he says.
Oh, wow.
Really?
5 years, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Crazy.
Hey,
It is.
call me. We'll talk about some good attorneys.
Oh, man.
Surely.
We'll just get him a wig. He can dress up as a girl or not a girl, but, he'll just look a little different.
So,
Instead of having, he could be Willie Nelson Jr.
Yeah, he could be. Joe Nix sent me a text. He said he went to the 86 Coca-Cola 600 with a pal that worked across the street from WAME, Old Homes Drugs. He had free tickets. Now, let's see, row 6, right off of turn 4, the dog leg, yes. And needless to say, I lost count of the getting hit in the head by the drunks with the poor throwing arms with their beer cans and chicken bones trying to hit the fence, and then came up short, LOL. So that's the problem when you sit down low.
Now,
you're gonna get hit.
and there again, I thank my father-in-law for buying good seats because at least we didn't have to deal with that. But am I trying to remember, or is my brain playing jokes on me? Didn't somebody really was winning a race and ran over a chicken bone and popped a tire?
Oh, I don't remember that.
I mean,
but it could happen.
That's a good question for Google.
I mean, yeah.
It's not hard for a fan that's sitting in the stands to if they don't like the way the race is going.
Yeah. Oh, remember Martinsville?
Throw something. Yeah. Well, that was post race. So
I got a video of it.
Yeah.
was that on the glass bottles being thrown out on the track where it looked like it was snowing, but the bottles crashing out?
It wasn't glass. Not the one I got a video of.
Yeah.
So this was Martinsville in the fall of 2021, I think, and it's like the last race before the championship at Phoenix. So everybody's kind of up on the wheel and going at it because there's 8 drivers fighting for 4 spots. So it's a big deal. And Alex Bowman was, I'm pretty sure he was already out of the playoffs. And Denny Hamlin was in a position to where he would have been locked into the Final Four if he would have stayed where he's at. Well, Alex Bowman got to the bumper of him, spun him around with, towards the end of the race. Well, Alex Bowman goes on to win the race, and they have a little altercation on the front stretch. So instead of going in the pits with the rest of the field, Denny comes up to where Alex Bowman is on the front stretch, and they kind of, touch hoods, and Denny, kind of just shows his frustration. Well, I'm sitting maybe 2 sections to the right of the start-finish line where all this is happening, and we're at Martinsville. You got like a lower level and then like a walkway, and then there's like the upper level. And so there's this guy that's like maybe 3 rows behind us on the upper level, and he takes a beer can and throws it and hits Denny Hamlin's windshield. And he stayed because we stayed pretty late because it was cool to listen to the post-race interviews because everybody was pretty hot. And this guy had to be the last person out there because he was so proud that he hit Denny Hamlin's car with the beer can, and he was, I was the one, all this stuff. But he got it on video. I had to show it to you. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
I had to get my video camera, and I had it zoomed down on there, and you can see it just clean as day. It comes right down, hits him right in the windshield, and just busts.
And on TV. When I saw it, I remember seeing it in person, and I thought, because the drivers will have like a water bottle or something with them in the car. I thought Denny Hamlin might have grabbed his water bottle or something and threw it at Alex Bowman's car. I didn't see where it had bounced, but then when I looked back on it, that's a pretty crazy story.
So here again, to not name names to protect the innocent or the guilty. Are there drivers that just really don't like other drivers? I mean, because you always see them in interviews. Hey, how you doing? I mean, like really don't like each other.
Yeah, there
Definitely.
are. And I've asked certain drivers about who did they not like or who did they really like.
Yeah.
I asked Sterling Marlin. This is a good one because I asked him who was his best friends on the track, and he said Kenny Schrader was probably the most one that he was the biggest friends with. Liked the most, whatever. And I think Michael Waltrip was another one he was friends with. But anyway, but then I've asked other drivers about who they didn't like, and they they just tell me straight up. So I probably shouldn't say those. But,
I wouldn't do that.
But I was like, I wondered about that because I would say, hey, is this guy really this way? And they
is
said,
it because they're rivals, or is it just because they?
Well, they just don't like them because they think they're
they don't
better,
like their driving style, or they don't like them as a person.
Well, it probably starts with their driving style, and then it goes into the person, or it could be the other way around.
Usually it seems like it gets personal after there's the conflict on track, and then it's just downhill from there most of the time. But you got to think these guys are with each other 36 weeks, if not more. Well, that's how many races there are, but they probably spend more time together than that out of the year. And so I guarantee you there's a lot of guys that maybe we don't even know just despise each other, but they kind of got to learn to put up with each other because they see each other every week. So that's probably a tough thing to balance for sure.
Yeah. That's it. Just like anywhere else, you have people that just don't get along. Yeah. Especially drivers. Drivers are typically different anyway. I mean,
I can see that.
Different,
I can see that.
Paul Rodriguez says, make a GoFundMe and just buy the whole track.
Yeah. We could probably raise enough money for Dickie to get him.
buy the track.
Yeah, just to buy it.
Man.
Sissy Odell, did you read her? See what she said?
Yeah, she says, love Bill, and we are blessed to have him and his family as a local leader. He is as humble as they come.
Bless your heart. Thank you.
That's right.
Gosh, how sweet. Very nice. Thank you.
And Jim says, look at it this way. Will Smith only gets 10 years for slapping at the Oscars last year. You got life for climbing a fence. I didn't realize that Will Smith can't go back for 10 years. Anyway, that's another story.
No, I didn't.
So,
I don't keep up with that.
Chris Rock is making so much money off that.
He definitely is.
Now, is that a conspiracy? It could be.
I doubt it's a conspiracy.
No, I don't think they like each other. No.
Have you watched the Chris Rock thing? Have you seen like the Netflix special? Because I only watched the part towards the end, and it's like really like terrible, and it's not very clean. But at the end, he's talking about the Will Smith thing, and he probably goes on for like 10 minutes or something about it.
The only part I didn't like was he took a shot at Will's wife.
Yeah,
dude, don't do that.
Yeah, I think
if you don't like me, that's all fine and good, but don't put family in it.
Right, that's when it gets.
That's not cool.
That's when the personal thing is yeah.
I agree.
That's what makes me think they really don't like each other.
Absolutely.
But they got enough money, they don't care.
Yeah, that's right. They got enough publicity off of this deal.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. So, are you in your new position? Are you allowed to talk about conspiracies and things?
Absolutely, man. What do you want to talk about? I was watching Lou. What's the guy's name with the UFOs last night?
Oh yeah, I love that stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all good stuff.
Had a friend of mine send me some castings of Bigfoot footprints out of Uwharrie Forest.
Oh, really? Out of Uwharrie? Okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Chris Busher lives out that way, so I told him one of these days. He drives.
So you can go hunting for Bigfoot on
I told him,
Chris Busher's property.
Well, yeah. Well, we were over that way, and one of these days.
Oh, man, we talk about conspiracies all the time.
It's warmer.
Yeah.
All right. So the moon landing, you want to talk about that one? I mean, is that one?
The one that never happened?
The one that never happened, yeah.
That's it. Ain't none of them happened. So
there's a lot
when we finally get there, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Now, you're a smart man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You build engines for $1 million people. 1960 technology. We allegedly went to the moon numerous times.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
2023, we can't even get a motor to work.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I know. I don't get it either. And it supposedly had as much technology in our cell phone as they used to
and
go to the moon.
if it was just so easy to do, why didn't nobody else do it yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were in a race to the moon with the Russians. I mean, you know.
We just needed a place to put all the Germans that came out of World War II and help us with our missile technology.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough. Yeah. And so that they say that it's possible that was staged over in California, in Hollywood, in the hills. So
well, there are certain parts of the planet that they have allegedly tested the Mars rover too. That's just like Mars.
Yeah.
So if you've never been there, how do you know what it looks like? Because you don't know.
Yes, that's true. And then there's certain things about. Have you ever heard about the glass structure on the moon? Have you ever heard about that? Okay. That's another conspiracy thing too.
Yeah,
that that some people say they landed on the moon and then they found this glass structure, and then there's all kinds of pictures from like around the dark side and different things like that.
I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
There was a movie, I think it was called The Martian, where he was on the moon by himself or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's the same glass house they're talking about.
Oh, it could be.
Could be.
Yeah, somebody just had a dream about it, or they saw the movie and then they dreamed about it.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. All right, what else? Ghosts.
But no, I mean, you just all kidding aside.
Yes.
To bring it back to a somewhat serious nature, you do have 3 declassified military videos of some sort of object. Now, whether it's little green men from Mars, or whether it's one of our enemies that's against us, or maybe it's even our technology we were testing us with. You have 3 real videos that even the Pentagon went, okay, y'all, this is something. Now, what is it? And you've got scientists, propulsion scientists, you've got genius, brilliant people. They're like, we don't know what it is. So, is it little green men from Mars? Maybe not. Is it Russian? Is it Chinese? Is it Korean? Is it ours? Probably. So, there again, we still need to know.
I always wondered I always wondered about this. Did they leave a camera on the moon to watch the spacecraft take off to come back? You know what I mean? Yeah. Just saying. Yeah. Stuff to think about. Deep
things
thoughts.
that make you go,
That's right. Yes.
This
deep
is the kind of stuff
deep
David
thoughts
dreams
with Ham.
about.
Yeah.
That's why he was a wise man.
That's right.
Ghosts, yeah, man. Absolutely.
Okay, so ghosts. Think about this. This building has been here since 1889, and then they put a little clock on top in 1890.
Sure.
I guess they figured we needed to be able to know the time in town. So I was down in the basement one day, took a video, and Bryson, we went down there too, and I need to go back and look at my video. So I uploaded this video to the TikToks, which I know, that's another conspiracy.
Yes.
But but what they have what's called an automatic caption, auto captions, and the auto caption said, "I need help." I never said that. I wasn't even talking at the time, and it said, "I need help" up here on the screen. And so I was like, what? Oh, But there's a doll down there that's like a little 3-foot doll.
Like a porcelain.
in a
doll.
white dress.
Yeah, dude,
This
you
dog-
shouldn't even told me that. I'll be out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I'll see y'all later.
Just to paint the picture, you walk down these creepy stairs in this old building, okay, and you turn left to go into the main area, and the first thing you see is this doll sitting in a little wooden chair, like out in the middle of anything. Like, who put that there? Nobody knows.
Yeah, now see, here's the thing. Do you move the doll?
I haven't
Or
touched
do
it.
you just leave it alone?
That's when I turn around and walk out.
Yeah.
That's when I've had enough. But what's the story? What's the story that about the well out here?
Oh, so I was telling a local historian about what I saw or what happened, and they said, well, there was a well right outside here that used, I guess, somewhere.
There was a hanging tree right next to where Jeannie and the West Music Company.
See, I thought there was.
That's true. That's true. There was a hanging tree there.
So there's two possibilities.
And there were several hangings going back to the beginnings of Iredell County. The last one was behind what is now the government center. Was a gentleman that was hung, I think, for a rape conviction, and quite got pictures of it. Of the setting, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in our little town.
Yeah, there is. So,
What's the story with the well?
well, supposedly there was a toddler or something thrown into that, and
Thrown in or fell in?
I think thrown in. Yeah, the mother he'd said that the mother had thrown the young child in there.
No. So that makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Oh
yeah. Stuff happens. I mean, that's it. No, I mean not. You know what I mean? I'm talking about ghosts.
Yeah.
Well, didn't you
things
say
happen.
that you were in here one night and heard some walking around?
Always hear stuff.
I always hear a toilet seat drop.
There are
like,
people
tunk.
that are sensitive.
Yeah, and I can, and I seem to be.
I heard it too, but I didn't think it was that. I think it was something else.
Because you didn't hear the same thing. Because I swear that's what it sounds like to me.
When this absolutely is true happened, honey. If people doubt me, they can call and ask you too. So I know you're listening. We went to Richmond, Virginia, for a football thing with Stephen, and we stayed in this old hotel in downtown Richmond. Michelle and Stephen got their room, and I had my room. And about 3:00 in the morning, and of course we're right on the street, so you did hear the street sounds. But you know those dressers that have the little wire pull-ups. That you pull the handle. It's not like a knob, but it's just a little piece. Piece that you pull up.
Yeah.
3 distinctive ting, ting, and I went, okay.
Yes.
All right.
I haven't experienced similar.
If it is, it is. So I rolled over, and when I rolled over, the TV turned on. It was like a black screen. The TV turned on, and I said, honey, are you awake? She didn't hear me, and the TV went off.
Oh my gosh.
Now, when we checked out the next morning, jokingly, I said to the lady who was really cool, she's a really cool lady, worked the motel. I said, I can't believe you let me stay in a haunted room. She said, oh, honey, happens all the time.
The Grove Park Inn is said to be haunted.
Oh, yeah.
And I know for a fact that I witnessed something myself. I had placed my jacket on the back of the chair for the little desk, and I couldn't sleep because I have problems sleeping in a strange bed. Don't do that. And I hate that camera up in my face. So I'm just laying there sleeping, trying to sleep, and all of a sudden I see my jacket raise up like that. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh.
That's all I could think was, oh no. So of course that defeated any trying to sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all night I'm sitting there looking for everything. Hurry up, daylight.
Hey, why not? I mean, I think it's possible. Sure, why not?
You never told me that story. But that's okay.
Because I never thought of it until just now.
Oh, okay. Well, what else can you think about?
Probably lots of stuff.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, there's just, there's all kinds of things. I was going to show you this and that, remember? I'm going to show that to him because I kind of wanted to talk about it last week, but I didn't. And just hit play on it. If you can get it to, yeah, there you go. All right. So I'm showing him a video right now of whenever this was downstairs in the house with my dad. Okay.
The orb.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. How cool is that?
You can actually see it.
That's awesome.
That really made things a lot easier for me because I felt like, that was at the point when he passed.
Well, I have a dear friend who worked for Trent Woods Police Department, which is way down east, and we were down close to Fort Macon, and he has some friends that do Civil War reenactment, and once a year or twice a year they actually fire the guns at Fort Macon, and he sent me a picture. Him and some of his friends, there's 12 of them in this little reenactment group, and they dress in period dress, and they camp out there, and they do the whole 9 yards, and they'll shoot the muskets, and I mean they look pretty sharp. Sent me a picture. There's 13 people standing in the picture.
Whoa.
And he said, dude, I'm telling you, there was 12 of us there.
Wow.
And there's 13. I mean, it's not like it's that fuzzy, weird, grainy. Yeah. It's like 13 people standing there.
Awesome.
And he's like, Bill, I promise you there was 12 of us.
Wow.
So I thought,
that is crazy.
That's pretty cool right there. Man.
It is.
That's
And
awesome.
what's bizarre is that, our security camera picked that up.
Yeah.
You couldn't see it with the naked eye.
You know, just talking about security cameras and things, and I know people are like, y'all are off the rails tonight. But
that's what we're about.
Think about back in the day, you had old timers and people would tell old wives' tales. There's a little bit of truth in every legend.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
So maybe we just now have the technology to document what people have been seeing all this whole time.
Yep.
Going back to the UFOs. Okay.
Oh.
People are like, hey, I saw this light or I saw this thing. Well, now we have at least 3 documented tales of something unknown. Now maybe we're documenting, because as we know, there's cameras everywhere now.
Right.
You know, so maybe there's more. Maybe someone will catch a Bigfoot now. Is Bigfoot a Neanderthal man? Probably not. But who's to say it couldn't be a primate? Couldn't be a monkey? I mean, just Google search species discovered in 2023. You know, there's all sorts of new stuff being found every day. And who's to say maybe there wasn't something back in the day that is now deceased or died out? Because if you take the American Indians, you take the Eskimos, you take the Tibetan people, okay, cultures literally worlds apart, they'll describe the same animal. So are you telling me that some Tibetan dude put a note in a bottle and threw it in the river and it went over to an Eskimo read it? Sure. There had to have been something. Now, is it still alive? Is it gone? Is it dead? Is it around? Maybe, maybe not. But there had to have been something for legend to come out of.
And there's pyramids in more places than just in Egypt.
Absolutely.
You know, there were pyramids here. There's still
pyramids
some
in Mexico.
Here.
There's pyramids in the United States. I mean, maybe not the diamond shape, but there's pyramid shapes. Who's to say we just didn't stack rocks and that was the shape that worked? Or was there some sort of communication we don't know about?
And there's cave drawings of aliens and type things like that. What's it?
I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the thing. Yeah. Dickie says that Pocahontas Parkway is legend to be haunted. And then Jim Dooley says, heard Richmond had a spirit that climbs fences way back when there was this fence climber that was banned from the track who now comes back to haunt the track.
Oh, yeah, someday.
Man, it's a rough crowd that night, boy.
Oh, I tell you what, we should just have
banter.
We should just have a conspiracy show one time and talk about all this stuff.
Let's do it.
That would be like a 5-day show.
Let's do it.
Very interesting to me.
Yeah,
all this stuff, and we could keep going for hours. I'm sure
hours and hours, buddy. We got it.
Yep.
Late night with Ham.
After hours.
After hours with Ham.
Yeah, we'll have to get Billy to talk about that. Maybe you can come in. Are you coming in Thursday or no?
Yes, sir. We'll be here Thursday.
Yeah, ask Billy about it.
Yep.
Tell him that's
we'll do it.
Day or so.
I mentioned it to him the other day, and he went, ha, ha, ha. So I don't know whether that was a good laugh or a no laugh. I don't know.
Oh, my gosh.
You never know what you get.
He'll go for it.
Yeah.
Right now, he's probably watching the back of his eyelids.
Listen, he's been sleeping.
Yeah.
He's been sleeping. No.
Yeah, for sure.
I was up at 4 a.m.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So, well, thank you so much for coming in.
Man, this has been a blast. Been a pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see you back in the saddle, and it's just been a pleasure to be here. Appreciate you. Thank you for inviting me. And if we can come back and talk about some more, we'll. If we don't tell the truth, we'll tell a good story.
Yeah, man, we'll do that. And say, I just heard that noise again. So there, nobody else heard it.
I
did
heard
hear it. Yeah.
Did you? I think that was the same noise.
That's not a toilet.
And maybe that
sound.
was you hitting the.
I didn't
your phone.
do anything.
I don't know.
I've been sitting here.
All right.
See, maybe,
always get the
maybe we're
fault.
talking it up.
Maybe so. We're going to go down in the basement here in just a minute.
No, we ain't.
He'll look at a picture that you take while you're down.
It'll be a solo trip for you, buddy.
I'll show you the video.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I'd love to see it.
All right. Well, thanks, Chief Deputy Bill Hamby.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, buddy. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And we will see y'all.
Hit that like button.
Yeah, hit the like button. Thank you for that. I just about forgot.
Well, that's why you got me here.
Yeah. And
Pay me the big bucks to remind
The
you. of
brains
stuff
and
like
the
that.
beauty.
Yeah, that's
There you
right.
go, see?
All right, so we'll see y'all maybe next week. Just keep an eye on our Racing Roots with Ham Facebook page, and we'll keep you in tune with what's going on and who our guests are going to be for every show. So we'll see y'all. Have a great week, and thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Bryson.
Of course.
Absolutely. Thanks for good to be back.
All right, good
Yeah,
to have
we
you
missed
back.
you last week.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, good night.